Hi everyone, welcome to Movie Session Show. My name is Veronica, and today I'm going to actually do a review on this new movie called Send Help. It's directed by Sam Raimi and starring Rachel McAdams and Dylan O'Brien. I know I don't do a whole lot of reviews, but I figured, since it is 2026, I have a lot of better equipment. Why not try to actually do a little bit more of these reviews going into the new year? So I actually got the chance to go see it a couple days ago. And not only that, but I was actually very excited to see this movie. The trailers came out about a year or so ago, and just right off the bat, I knew this was going to be a very interesting movie. The concept was going to be very interesting. I mean, yes, we have seen that kind of story where, characters end up on sea after a disaster and then it's just a matter of survival. But what I really loved about the whole concept is the fact that you have not just any kind of plot, but basically a rivalry between an employee and a very toxic boss, and seeing how the tables turn. So that's what I really loved about this. I was like, okay, I had to see this movie. This has to really work out well. And I have to say, I think this movie would not have worked as great as it did without Rachel McAdams. Now, of course, I come from a generation where literally her most iconic role, or her most memorable role, is going to be Regina George from Mean Girls. I mean, if you were able to see her, you'd be like, oh, like Regina George from Mean Girls. And she did such an incredible job just playing this very toxic plastic girl who can be a little bit manipulative and uh and knows how to play with people. And it's just like when you see her now with this character like Linda, who is a complete opposite of Regina George, or at least up to a point, right? And being this very awkward employee who's very naive, who doesn't know how to really stand up who doesn't know how to stand up to her toxic boss up until, the events of the disaster that happens with the plane crash. It's just like, okay, how is this going to play out? And I have to say, like, honestly, Rachel McAdams, like, this is probably one of her best roles yet. She's like, you can see how much of her character really transforms once they get to that island, and seeing how she reacts and how she has the upper ground against her own boss. And now that, again, as I said, the tables really turn. But not only that, but just to see how much fun Rachel McAdams is having as, Linda. I mean, there's a couple of scenes we've seen in the trailer where she's literally like trying to go on survival mode, and just how much she is really embodying this person who is kind of like a caricature of like a survival player. And yeah, but in a more real life scenario, and then just seeing how that plays out. But it's not just that part, right? I mean, the main plot of this movie is the fact that there is this such psychological game between Linda and her boss, Bradley, played by Dylan O'Brien. And it just becomes a fight between who can overcome each other by playing this psychiatry against each other. Now, as I said, I mean, yes, Rachel McAdams is absolutely phenomenal. And that's not to deny the fact that Dylan O'Brien was also great in this movie. I mean, he's playing the toxic boss. I mean, I don't have to say, like, I don't know if anyone else has noticed, but I feel like Dylan O'Brien has been having this whole era where he's just playing these really shitty characters. And now he's like playing this villain of sort who is, really toxic, who really doesn't give a crap about people, or at least in a way, his moral compass isn't as well thought out as Linda, where for him, he just rewards people who are within his close circle. Whereas someone like Linda, who's done so much hard work and is very deserving of having a raise of some sort, doesn't even get that respect from her boss. It's just like, and it's for these two characters and now end up in an island all alone, and now having to kind of question like everyone's actions and whether or not they're going to betray them, or is this actually a genuine reaction? It's just like, wow, like this is a very interesting concept. And because of that dynamic that we have, that's what really sets the rest of this movie. Like, you're just wondering like who's playing games, who is actually being genuine. Is this going to come bite someone in the ass? Is this going, like, it makes you question like what's going to end up happening, because it is a psychological game that ends up happening in terms of survival. Like, it is in a way of survival, really. And that's what made this film really, special. Because like for me, I'm someone who like watches these movies. I'm like, okay, can I predict what's going to happen? Can I get a sense of what the end game is going to look like? Like, I mean, for me, if I'm able to predict a movie right away, like, I know I'm not going to enjoy it. Whereas if there's a movie like, like this, where it's just like, okay, I actually can't figure out how this movie's gonna end. Like, that's when you know that you're going to enjoy it. Like, if as long as the film is not predictable, you will enjoy this film. And I think this is what made me even enjoy it more, just because of the fact that, I don't know how this is gonna end. Like, I mean, I'm seeing these two characters, they're playing this mind game. Like, what's going to end up happening? I mean, of course, there's a couple scenarios that we know it's going to end up being one of these, right? Like, it's either they're both gonna survive, either Linda survives, Bradley survives, or no one survives, right? We don't know. But the thing is, we don't even know how this is going to turn out. But even that being the case, I mean, with a film like this, like, yes, it's a 2-hour movie, but everything really works out. Everything plays a purpose in this movie. We see how each of the characters learn and grow, and, how they kind of develop their dynamic, how they change, how their relationship changed. What does this lead up to, and all that sort of stuff. And it's really hard to also root for who you want to go for, because like each of them have their flaws, but that's what makes it really intriguing. And of course, like this movie would not work if it wasn't from the direction from Sam Raimi. Now, as I said, I'm a 2000s kid, right? So, because I was born in the 1990s, but I grew up in 2000s. So for me, my exposure to Raimi's movies were mostly the superhero stuff, like Spider-Man, Multiverse of Madness, and of course, I think there was a horror like Drag Me to Hell, but that was like way in like the late 2000s. But even then, like for something like Multiverse of Madness, like I was a little underwhelmed with that film, because yes, it's a film that has a lot of great concepts to it, like having this horror-ish tone for an MCU movie. That was like a really great call, especially for a character when you have a character like Wanda who has been through so much trauma. I feel like that was the right move. I think this is where the executions where it kind of was a little underwhelming. Not with Wanda. I think the whole Wanda's parts were really well done, but it's just the whole Doctor Strange arc that was kind of like, I wish it could have been a little bit more tighter. Whereas in this film, you can tell that the director was really confident with the content that he had, with the work, with the resources that he had in terms of making this movie. Like, you can tell how tight this movie was. It is like, you have these two characters, you're in an island. It's going to be a game of mind tricks and a game of who can, topple one over the other, and what's going to end up and how they're going to survive. Like, there is, because of the fact that this film is already tight moving itself in terms of its concept, that you can tell, like, just execution wise and direction wise, that Raimi knew what to do. And not only that, but I have to compliment this, even for the fact that, this is still a survival thriller in a way. I wouldn't say this is like your typical horror movie. It's just more like a psychological thriller type of survival movie. But there are aspects of Sam Raimi direction that you'll get the sense of in this movie. I mean, there are actually a couple of Easter eggs in this film that kind of call back to Raimi's movie. So I was like, oh, okay, I spotted some stuff here and there, which I love. I love it when directors do that. It's just like, okay, if you can see the hints and spot them, it's like, okay. And that's what that kind of reminds me, like, this is a Sam Raimi movie. This is still a Sam Raimi movie, even though it may not be the typical type of Raimi movies that we would see. Because, I mean, of course, a lot of people know him from, like, from directing, creating the Evil Dead franchise. I think he's even producing the upcoming sequel that's coming out. But this is definitely a film where this is like literally Sam Raimi right back on the top. Like, you can tell that this is a director who is finally, who's finally kind of having this really great comeback. And I think there's no other way to have this comeback than Send Help. I know it's been about, when did Multiverse of Madness come out? It's like, 2021? It's been a while. It's been a minute. It's been 5 years. So for him to come back with a film like Send Help, and not only to pull out one of the actors from Multiverse of Madness to then, join him in Send Help, but then to be the lead of it. I think there could have been any other choice for it. And it was the right choice to have someone like Rachel McAdams play Linda, because, again, as I said, like, you can just tell how much Rachel McAdams is having fun with this character. And I think that's the best way to describe it. Like, this is a film that, yes, it has a lot of high stakes. Yes, it's very conceptual because of the fact that you are still dealing with a survival, but it is still fun. It's still engaging. You have a lot of the psychological aspect to it. You have a lot of the thrill aspect to it. There's still a lot of suspense, which is very typical of Sam Raimi's kind of direction. And they all really come together to make this film like Send Help and make it already one of the most entertaining movies of the year. I mean, I don't know if I can really give any kind of rating for it. I mean, I'll probably give it like a really solid 4 out of 5. But as I said, this is maybe the first film that I genuinely was like, I had a really great time watching in theaters, especially when you get to the end and you're like, okay, that's how it's gonna be. So yeah, that's why I wanted to get my review out for Send Help. And as I said, I recommend it. If you have not seen it already, I will tell you right now, go to the theaters right now, go check out Send Help. It's a lot of fun. Like, it's a lot of great fun. If you, especially if you like the psychological thriller genre, this is a movie for you. Like, that's kind of like my type of film. Like, I love the thriller types, especially one that has a little bit of the psychological aspects. This is your movie. If you have not seen it, again, as I said, go check it out. But yeah, that's all I have to say about Send Help. I thoroughly enjoyed it. I had a lot of fun. It was very engaging. I would not be surprised if there could be, potential for awards, although I highly doubt it. I mean, I'm still kind of surprised that this is a film that was scheduled for January, because January tends to be that type of month where it's like, you kind of put like, whatever movies, not really for blockbusters, but this is one of those rare cases where we actually have a January gem. But having said that, I want to know your thoughts. If you have seen this movie, I want to hear your review about it. Did you enjoy it as much as I did? Because as I said, I had I had a blast watching this movie. I think everything really worked out well, but not everyone feels the same way. Is there something about it that maybe you thought could have been better, or did the film itself really just feel like a typical Sam Raimi movie that you would get from like pre-2000s, pre the superhero, pre the Spider-Man era? Is this a kind of film that we're like, wow, we're finally getting back to kind of the rhythm of Sam Raimi movies? What do you think about the performances? I already gave my thoughts about it, but maybe you have different thoughts. And yeah, I want to hear your thoughts in the comments down below, and don't forget to like and subscribe.